Hey folks, Mark Levin here. Now, before we dive in today's episode, I want to talk about something truly valuable, protecting your financial future with gold. It's called diversification. Now, for that, I only trust Advantage Gold. They're the real deal with 5-star service and a sterling reputation. So give them a call today. Call Advantage Gold at 800-900-8000. Tell them Mark Levin sent you. Trust me, you'll thank yourself in the future. Now let's get to the show. Results may vary. Consult with your financial professional.
He's here. He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Mark Levin here. Our number, 877-381-3811, 877-381-3811. In hour 3, Kathie Lee Gifford's going to be here. I meant to tell my wife. She's going to say, why didn't you tell me? Because I forgot to tell you. At about 8:20 p.m. Eastern Time. You know, Butler is a tiny town in Pennsylvania. It's got a population of about 6,000. I don't know how big its police force is, but I'm sure it's quite small, Mr. Producer. How many can they have? 12? 20? The idea, as Joe Biden would say, the idea, no joke, that the United States Secret Service, with all its resources, all its experience, would be relying on a small-town police force of loyal, patriotic men and women, no doubt, to protect the perimeter, that is, the area outside an encircled area, to protect the president, is so outrageous to me. And they are leaking like hell on these cops. Does that mean a cop who saw the perp shouldn't have shot him on sight? No, it doesn't forgive, it doesn't forget. My point is different. The Secret Service should have been on top of that building. Secret Service drone or drones should have been in the air. The Secret Service, any building where a possible sniper can climb to the top, should have been secured by the Secret Service. Not a police department in a town of 6,000 people. I just don't get it. And now it even becomes more perplexing. You know, I get people who say to me all the time, why do you talk about Iran all the time and Israel all the time? Why? Why? Here's a headline from CNN. Secret Service ramped up security after receiving intel of Iranian plot to assassinate Trump. No known connection to shooting. The Islamo-Nazi regime in Tehran wants to assassinate Donald Trump. It wants to assassinate Mike Pompeo. It wants to assassinate John Bolton. Now, he's a reprobate, but still, assassinate John Bolton. They want to assassinate Americans? That's crazy. They're the enemy. They're evil. So Bolton has special protection. Pompeo has special protection. Trump's supposed to have special protection. We are funding Iran to the tune of billions of dollars. Joe Biden gives Netanyahu the Trump treatment in terms of his yelling and horrendous statements about Israel, the blood libels against Netanyahu. He says nothing about the leadership of Iran. Why are we giving them billions of dollars? Why did we lift the sanctions on oil? U.S. authorities obtained intelligence from a human source in recent weeks on a plot by Iran to try to assassinate Donald Trump. You do understand, right? That's a declaration of war. A development that led to the Secret Service increasing security around the former president in recent weeks. Multiple people briefed on the matter told CNN. That's frightening. So they increased Secret Service around the president, and this still happened? President Trump? The existence of the intelligence threat from a hostile foreign intelligence agency and the enhanced security for Trump raises new questions about the security lapses, and it goes on. But it not only raises questions about the security lapses, which definitely need to be addressed and now, but nowhere in this article. Well, let's go on. Let's go on. National Security Council spokesperson Adrian Watson, said there's no known link between the shooter, okay, the permanent mission of the Islamic Republic of Iran to the United Nations denied there's an Iranian plot to assassinate Trump. Oh, wow. Must be true, then. These accusations are unsubstantiated and malicious. From the perspective of the Islamic Republic of Iran, Trump is a criminal who must be prosecuted and punished in a court of law. For ordering the assassination of General Soleimani, Iran has chosen the legal path to bring him to justice. Iran never chooses a legal path. Surge of threats from Iranian state-backed media. Iran has repeatedly vowed revenge for the U.S. military's killing of Qasem Soleimani, the commander of the Iranian military's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. The former senior Trump administration officials who worked on national security have had tight security since leaving the government. We're having to protect Pompeo, Bolton, others who worked at the National Security Council because Iran's threatening to assassinate them and threatening to assassinate President Trump. This is a big story. Former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo was also a target of the Iranian assassination plot. According to a federal law enforcement source familiar with the investigation, Trump's former national security advisor, Robert O'Brien, had a U.S. government security detail due to threats from Iran, like Pompeo and other former Trump officials. That detail was dropped last summer, according to sources familiar with the matter. O'Brien is now paying for his own private... So Biden drops the security protection for O'Brien, who is still threatened by the Iranians by possible assassination. Biden wouldn't give RFK Secret Service protection until the day after President Trump was shot. Bolton still has Secret Service detail, and he should. For months, law enforcement officials have been concerned about the persistent threat of Iran potentially attempting to assassinate former Trump officials and the former president himself, according to multiple sources familiar with the matter. This is CNN. But the recent intelligence suggested a significant uptick in the threat, the sources told CNN, because they don't want him to win. Because they know that Biden and Blinken are appeasers. They don't want Trump back in. Warnings about the operational planning have coincided with a noticeable surge of online messaging from Iranian accounts and state-backed media mentioning Trump, which has raised security concerns among U.S. officials, one of the sources told CNN. Now, presumably this information is in the hands of Joe Biden and Blinken themselves. So what are they doing to Iran about it? What are they doing? What are they doing? They're attacking Israel. They're undermining Israel. They're withholding arms from Israel. Israel says 60% of its tanks have been badly damaged. Did you hear that, Mr. Producer? They're low on ammunition. Iran is, feeling its oats. It feels it can do whatever the hell it wants. Hezbollah today fired hundreds of missiles on Israel. Today, the Israelis uncovered enormous amounts of weapons in the East Bank. Well, they can call it the West Bank of Jordan. I'll call it the East Bank of Israel, okay? In the East Bank, this guy Biden, he's got to go. I'm rooting for the Democrats who are trying to dump this guy. But then there's this. Who is this woman in charge of the Secret Service? Kim Cheadle. Well, our friends at the New York Post have told us. What a great newspaper. Secret Service Director Kim Cheadle landed job after pushed by Jill Biden's office. Sources say, I have told you that she is the Edith First Lady Wilson. She's running the show, along with the Obama revolutionaries, Marxists, and Islamists. Embattled Secret Service Director Kimberly Cheadle, who's facing congressional outcry and calls to resign over security lapses leading to former President Donald Trump's near assassination Saturday, landed her role thanks largely to a close relationship with the First Lady, Jill Biden. The Post has learned. Jill Biden. Cheadle, 53, is the second woman to lead the Presidential Protection Agency and secured the non-Senate confirmed role in August 2022 after a 3-year stint as a senior director of global security at PepsiCo. Before that, she had 27 years in the Secret Service, beginning in the Clinton administration. Four sources close to President Biden's family, including people who interacted with Cheadle during the Obama-Biden administration, said she was well-liked by the future First Lady and her most senior aides, including top advisor Anthony Bernal. Quote, Cheadle served on Dr. Biden's... what's this Dr. Biden crap? Cheadle served on Dr. Biden's second lady detail, and Anthony pushed for her, a Democratic insider told the Post. Anthony has no national security or law enforcement experience. He should have no influence over the selection of the U.S. Secret Service director. I heard at the time she was being considered for director that Anthony had pushed her forward as an option, another well-placed source told the Post. Anthony Bernal, top advisor to the First Lady. Bernal, 51, is widely regarded as rivaling even White House Chief of Staff Jeff Zients in terms of influence over administration decisions. Yes, because Jill Biden is acting as president. He has faced allegations of bullying and sexual harassment from colleagues who have likened his sway to that of Russian mystic Rasputin over the Romanov court. Anthony is obsessed with being DEI compliant, a third source told the Post, using the acronym for diversity, equity, and inclusion, the human resources practices of attempting to ensure diversity in the workforce. Cheadle is expected to provide a briefing to members of Congress Tuesday on how gunman Thomas Matthew Crooks was able to get... well, you get the point. I've got a lot more. We'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
You know, folks, we're living in unprecedented times. And September 18th could be a watershed moment. With President Trump's sentencing approaching, we're facing potential political upheaval, which could create some dangerous market and economic chaos. That's where gold and diversification come in. Gold has always been one of the ultimate safe havens in times of turmoil. And when it comes to gold, I only trust one company. I've dealt with many. That's Advantage Gold. They're a 5-star American company that I recommend to everyone. They're the experts in helping Americans protect their money with gold and silver silver using existing retirement savings with zero fees. So call Advantage Gold today at 800-900-8000 and they'll send you a free gold investment kit to help you get started. Tell them Mark Levin sent you to see if you qualify for $1,000 in free silver. Don't wait until September 18th. It's already here, folks. Call 800-900-8000 for your free gold investment kit from Advantage Gold. That's 800-900-8000. Tell them Mark Levin sent you. Performance may vary. Always consult your financial tax professional. The Butler Township Police Force consists of a lieutenant, 4 patrol sergeants, 3 detectives, 12 full-time patrol officers, 1 part-time dog law enforcement officer, and 2 full-time clerical support staff. And the United States Secret Service is blaming them for not controlling that building from which President Trump was almost assassinated. Now let's talk logically, okay? We don't have to be in law enforcement, the Secret Service. You don't have to be anything. You can be a hot dog vendor. You can even be a stupid lawyer, okay? There's this massive crowd, tens of thousands. You're going to have a presidential candidate, former president. You're in charge of the Secret Service, or at least the detail. And you go into this little town, a rural town really, Butler Township, Pennsylvania. And you see they have a lieutenant, 4 patrol sergeants, 3 detectives, 12 full-time patrol officers, 1 part-time dog law enforcement officer, and 2 full-time clerical support staff. And you leave it to them to secure the area outside the perimeter? Are you nuts? How much experience do they have? None. They barely have a staff, for God's sakes. And now you're going to blame them? And we're supposed to accept these leaks coming out of headquarters in Washington, D.C. against little Butler Township? Meanwhile, the Biden regime knew that Donald Trump had an assassination threat hanging over his head from the week before from the Islamo-Nazi regime in Tehran. Did anybody tell Butler Township that? Of course not. Now, maybe the cop should have shot him. Maybe the cop should have done this, that, or the other. But ladies and gentlemen, the idea that the United States Secret Service director, the top brass, whoever was in charge, we just assumed that the local police would... What are you talking about? What in the hell are you talking about? And of course, the big media will listen to the Biden regime. Let us be clear. It is the Biden administration. Let us be very, very clear. Afghanistan, that's the Biden administration. Open border, that's the Biden administration. MS-13 coming in, fentanyl coming in, Venezuela gangs coming in. That's the Biden administration. The Department of Justice undermining local police departments day in and day out with their DEI crap and all the rest of it. And Donald Trump was almost murdered by an assassin's bullet. And the department, the agency responsible for protecting him is the Biden administration, the Department of Homeland Security, and the Secret Service. They don't report to Butler Township, nor should they. They report to the Biden White House. And so now their answer is to blame Butler Township? Are they kidding? Hi, this is Mark Levin, and I've got an urgent message that can't wait. September 18th is coming, and with it, President Trump's sentencing. We're staring down this barrel again of potential market chaos. The question isn't if there's going to be a fallout, but how much. In times of instability, many smart investors turn to gold as part of diversification. And when I think of gold, I think of Advantage Gold. These folks are true partners in helping Americans find financial stability. Advantage Gold's experts understand the connection between politics and economics, and they can navigate you through these crazy times using gold to help shield your hard-earned wealth. So call my trusted friends at Advantage Gold now at 800-900-8000, 800-900-8000 for a free gold investment kit. If you wait until September 18th, it might be too late. 800-900-8000 for your free investment kit. Tell them Mark Levin sent you to see if you qualify for up to $1,000 in free silver. That's 800-900-8000. Performance may vary. Always consult your financial and tax professional.
This is where liberalism ends and liberty begins. The Mark Levin Show at 877-381-3811.
By the way, Ron DeSantis is speaking tonight, but you wouldn't know it with all the hype that Nikki Haley's getting. Just saying. The rhinos are coming out of the woodwork, you know. NBC News, rooftop where gunman shot at Trump was identified as a security vulnerability before the rally. Two sources told NBC News the Secret Service flagged a building near the rally site as a security concern. Investigators will be scrutinizing how a gunman was allowed to scale it. You don't say. The building, owned by a glass and research company, is adjacent to the Butler Farm Show, an outdoor venue in Butler, Pennsylvania. The Secret Service was aware of the risks associated with it, the sources said. Someone should have been on the roof or securing the building so no one could get on the roof, said one of the sources, a former senior Secret Service agent who was familiar with the planning. Just remember, the head of the Secret Service was appointed effectively by Jill Biden because Jill Biden liked her. You know, this is the Biden administration. They're in charge of the Secret Service. Mayorkas is in charge of the Secret Service. They chose the head of the Secret Service. It's their DEI policies. It's their woke policies. That's why she was picked. And she, in turn, has said she wants 30% of the Secret Service agent workforce to be women. And this is what happens when your focus isn't on the job that you're supposed to do, rather than on all the theatrics, for God's sakes. The Secret Service worked with local law enforcement to maintain event security, including sniper teams poised on rooftops to identify and eliminate threats. Secret Service spokesman Anthony Giuliani said, but no officers were posted on the building used by the would-be assassin outside the event's security perimeter, but only about 140 yards from the stage, within range of semi-automatic rifle like the one the gunman was carrying. Why does it matter where it was? They said it was a security risk. What are we dealing with, the bureaucracy at the IRS? No! The Secret Service had designated that rooftop as being under the jurisdiction of local law enforcement. A common practice in securing outdoor rallies, said the spokesidiot, but the Butler County DA, Roger Goldinger, said his office maintains an emergency services unit team, which deploy 4 sniper teams for quick response teams at the rally, but he said the Secret Service agents were in charge of security outside the venue. I have no doubt he's right. None. This police force simply isn't big enough. But let me ask you this. So the Secret Service, top brass, I assume they're walking around checking out, making sure all the soldiers are in place the way they ought to be. And he or she sees the rooftop is empty? In other words, none of their snipers are there? Do they hear the screams of the patriots in the audience saying, there's a guy up there with a gun, a rifle up there, and others who said they saw 30 minutes before the guy crawling around on the roof? Goldinger said the commander of the emergency service unit told him it was not responsible for securing areas outside the venue. To me, the whole thing is under the jurisdiction of the Secret Service. I agree with that. They had the skill. Certainly a little town police force, or even a small county police force, is not up to this. That's not their job. Their job is to assist the Secret Service, not to act in lieu of the Secret Service. The former senior Secret Service agent also said that even if local law enforcement did drop the ball, it's still the agency's responsibility to ensure that they are following through either beforehand or in the moment. Exactly. Just because it's outside the perimeter, it doesn't take it out of play for vulnerability, he said, and you've got to mitigate it in some fashion. Is this not the Biden regime's responsibility? You want to hear Biden at the NAACP today? I had to turn it off. The guy is absolutely nuts. He is absolutely nuts. He's lying. He's mumbling. He's screaming. But what will Biden do tonight? What will Blinken do tonight to Iran? Will they impose new sanctions? Does anybody know? No, they're not imposing new sanctions. They've just threatened to assassinate Donald Trump last week. We get to hear about it today. Will they impose new sanctions on Iran? No. Will they lift the sanctions on Israel and give them the weapons that Congress paid for? No. Blinken's a special pleader for Iran and their surrogates. Israel's under attack every single day with multiple missiles firings. Their tanks are damaged. They're running out of ammo. Iran's going to get a nuclear weapon. They want to assassinate Trump. And we're funding Iran, for God's sakes. That's reason enough to get rid of this old putz, to be perfectly honest with you. But here he is, Biden, at the NAACP. And the NAACP, talk about cowards and hypocrites. Backing a man who supported segregation, who was a racist. Backing a man in 1994 who they condemned for the so-called crime bill targeting blacks. What a bunch of hypocrites. The NAACP. More Democrat than leaders of the black community. That's the bottom line. Every ethnic group, every religious group has the same type. Here he is. Cut 20, go.
Just a few days after the assassination attempt on Donald Trump, we're grateful he was not seriously injured. We continue to pray for him and his family. It's time for an important conversation in this country. Our politics has gotten too heated.
You know, this is amazing. Here's the arsonist saying, here's the arsonist. By the way, I've been making this scenario over and over again. I notice other people have picked up on this now. Have you, Mr. Producer? This is what Rush means by the echo chamber. He's the arsonist, and he's complaining about the fires that are being set everywhere. This is a sick man. Nothing will fix that. Then cut 21, go.
You know the pain and the price of violence. You understand, if you're going to talk about standing against violence, you must stand against all violence. You must stand against violence perpetrated against presidential candidates in Pennsylvania. You must stand against all violence.
It wasn't against presidential candidates. It was against Donald Trump. One. Stand against all violence. Who doesn't stand against all violence? Except the Soros prosecutors and the liberal mayors and the activist judges. Go ahead.
The violence perpetrated against George Floyd of Minnesota.
Now we're going to racialize it. He never misses an opportunity, this bastard. Never. Never. You know, ladies and gentlemen, it's amazing to me. He'll talk about George Floyd till he'll use George Floyd. He'll use Charlottesville. He lied about that again today. Again, the man who stood with the racist segregationists, and not just for a year or two, for 5-6 years, worked closely with them to prevent little black kids from going to school with little white kids. Oh, we'll just ignore that, forget about that. The racist things that have come out of his mouth time and time again. Oh, so be it. It's just Joe. Meanwhile, thousands and thousands of black people are losing their lives in the inner city, murdered by other black people. More specifically, thousands and thousands of young black men are killing young black men. every year. Joe Biden doesn't talk about that. Joe Biden has no way of addressing it. Joe Biden doesn't look for solutions to that. Joe Biden is Mr. Hot Button. He'll bring up George Floyd. He doesn't know the names of anybody else who's been murdered over the years since he's been president of the United States in the streets. He won't bring up the people being murdered on the border as a result of his policies, the people dying from fentanyl. All over the country, inner cities, the most rural of areas. Never. He screams that guns kill more young people than anything else. That's not correct. Drugs do. And fentanyl's at the top of the list. And the communist Chinese working with the Mexican drug cartels are pushing as much fentanyl by the tons into this country, killing 100,000 people a year, the vast majority of whom are young people. Joe Biden can do something about that. He won't. Cut 22, go.
We're going to speak about violence. We're going to speak about guns. More children in America die of a gunshot wound than any other reason. That's stunning and that is sick.
First of all, it's not true. Second of all, it is sick. How many illegal guns are coming across the border because the border's open, Mr. Producer? We don't have the foggiest idea. Millions of illegal aliens are coming across the border. Hundreds of tons of illicit and toxic drugs are coming across the border. Venezuelan gangs, MS-13, the worst of the worst, criminals from all over the world coming across the border. How many illegal weapons are coming across the border? You know, we're not even tracking that. Mr. Law and Order, Mr. I'm concerned about guns. But listen to him. Cut 23, go.
Just because we must lower the temperature in our politics is related to violence, it doesn't mean we should stop telling the truth.
But it does mean you should stop screaming and lying out of your big fat mouth. And that's all you've ever done your entire pathetic career. You're a smear merchant. You're an absolute smear merchant. When we come back, how much time do I have in this segment, Mr. Producer? When I come back, I want you to listen to something. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
You know, folks, we're living in unprecedented times. And September 18th could be a watershed moment. With President Trump's sentencing approaching, we're facing potential political upheaval, which could create some dangerous market and economic chaos. That's where gold and diversification come in. Gold has always been one of the ultimate safe havens in times of turmoil. And when it comes to gold, I only trust one company. I've dealt with many. That's Advantage Gold. They're a 5-star American company that I recommend to everyone. They're the experts in helping Americans protect their money with gold and silver using existing retirement savings with zero fees. So call Advantage Gold today at 800-900-8000 and they'll send you a free gold investment kit to help you get started. Tell them Mark Levin sent you to see if you qualify for $1,000 in free silver. Don't wait until September 18th. It's already here, folks. Call 800-900-8000 for your free gold investment kit from Advantage Gold. That's 800-900-8000. Tell them Mark Levin sent you. Performance may vary. Always consult your financial tax professional. I was on Fox and Friends this morning. What a great program. And my buddy, Brian Kilmeade, was interviewing me. What a great guy. And to the point that I've been raising in the last 20 minutes, here's what I said. Cut 2, go.
And I want to say something to Joe Biden. I haven't been on this air since my friend, the President of the United States, was almost assassinated, and I have spoken to him. You know, Joe Biden, you owe the nation an apology. You spent half a century in Washington, D.C. smearing people. From Robert Bork and Clarence Thomas the things that you said about Ronald Reagan. I was there. The things you say about Benjamin Netanyahu, and you saved your worst for Donald Trump. You are a desperate man, desperately seeking re-election, when 5 days ago your party was trying to get rid of you. It's amazing how the media turn on a dime. The talk for weeks and weeks is that this man is dementia, he's senile, he should be removed, and now he's a uniter. Joe Biden has never been a uniter, from his days as a race and segregationist in the South to his days today with the things that he says and he does. The fact of the matter is, Donald Trump survived an assassin's bullet. God was watching over him. That's number one, Brian. Number two, lawfare is almost dead. Donald Trump has beaten a corrupt Department of Justice, a corrupt Attorney General, a corrupt DA in Manhattan. That case will be resolved properly, and a corrupt DA in Atlanta. They've tried to bankrupt him. They've tried to imprison him. They've smeared his character and his name. And I want people to remember something when they talk about J.D. Vance said these things about Trump. He's apologized. When will the media apologize? When will our Al Jazeera Pravda media apologize? They talk about what's wrong with America. Oh, there's sickos in America. The problem is there's too many of these people in the media. When will Comcast do something about Joy Reid and the lineup at MSNBC? When will Warner Brothers do something about CNN and the lineup at CNN? They have no self-reflection, no circumspection. The media have led the charge with this Hitler narrative, which is grotesque. Let me tell you something. As a Jewish person, that may surprise you, Brian, that I'm Jewish. As a Jewish person, the Holocaust is the most horrendous thing that ever happened to the Jews. And when I watch corporate media hosts and guests and politicians in the Democrat Party call Donald Trump the greatest friend that Israel has ever had, has Jewish grandchildren, a Jewish daughter, a Jewish son-in-law, who put in place the executive order to protect Jews on college campuses. When I listen to these reprobates in media, and they're not going away, they'll give it a week, they'll give it 2 weeks, 3 weeks, they never stop and they never will stop. This is who they are. Joe Biden's been doing this for 50 years. When I hear what these people say and they take no responsibility, right. Not one of them has been fired by corporate media, not one of them has gone on the air and apologized, and the head of the whole operation, the man demanding that his campaign go low, attack low. Look, I'm telling it as it is. I haven't been on the air for 9 days. That's Joe Biden. It's always been Joe Biden. And I want to say this to President Trump. Now, Brian, everybody's been on all 9 days. I want to say something. God bless President Trump. He's pushed back the FBI. He's pushed back the Department of Justice. He's pushed back these DAs and attorney generals. He survived 2 impeachments. He survived a criminal investigation. No man should have to go through this. No man whatsoever. And I think the American people understand this completely.
And I'm back live, and I do. I think they do. Be right back. This segment of the podcast is exclusively sponsored by Pure Talk. Pure Talk offers great coverage and can save your family money on your wireless bill every single month. Go to puretalk.com to find the plan that's right for you. Thank you again for listening, and thank you so much for this sponsorship, Pure Talk.
He's here. He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Hello, America. Mark Levin here. Our number, 877-381-3811, 877-381-3811. Look, somebody has to watch the home front. Well, everybody's got it in Milwaukee, Mr. Producer. I take that obligation with the greatest of honor. For Joe Biden and the Democrat Party and their media, the problem isn't them. The problem is us. The problem is the framers. I want to read something to you because you're going to be hearing about this for the next several days, and the media will be pushing it. Joe Biden's war on the Supreme Court Now, I probably wrote one of the most popular books on the Supreme Court, Men in Black. It was my first book many years ago. I was extremely critical of the court, the authority that it took, and I recommended in that book that we have term limits for Supreme Court justices. And then I remembered in the Liberty Amendments, which had some number of suggestions, in Chapter 4, an amendment to establish term limits for Supreme Court justices and supermajority legislative override. I want to read just my proposal to you as the foundational point from which to address what Biden is about to do. Section 1. No person may serve as Chief Justice or Associate Justice of the Supreme Court for more than a combined total of 12 years. Section 2. Immediately upon ratification of this amendment, Congress will organize the justices of the Supreme Court as equally as possible into 3 classes, with the justices assigned to each class in reverse seniority order, with the most senior justices in the earliest classes. The terms of office for justices in the first class will expire at the end of the 4th year following the ratification of the amendment. The terms for the justices of the second class will expire at the end of the 8th year, and of the third class, the end of the 12th year, so that 1/3 of the justices may be chosen every 4th year. Section 3. When a vacancy occurs in the Supreme Court, the President shall nominate a new justice who, with the approval of the majority of the Senate, shall serve the remainder of the unexpired term. Justices who fill a vacancy for longer than half of an unexpired term may not be renominated to a full term. Section 4. This is important. Upon 3/5 vote of the House of Representatives and the Senate, Congress may override a majority opinion rendered by the Supreme Court. 3/4. Very difficult to get. Section 5. The congressional override under Section 4 is not subject to presidential veto and shall not be the subject of litigation or review in any federal or state court. Section 6. Upon 3/5 vote, this is the most important part. Upon 3/5 vote of the several state legislatures, the states may override a majority opinion rendered by the Supreme Court. 3/5. 30 states. 30 state legislatures. Section 7. The states override under Section 6 shall not be the subject of litigation or review in any federal or state court or oversight or interference by Congress or the President. Section 8. Congressional or state override authority under Sections 4 and 6 must be exercised no later than 24 months from the date of the Supreme Court rendering its majority opinion, after which date Congress and the states are prohibited from exercising their override. Now, why? Every one of those words, sentences, sections were very, very carefully thought about, rationalized, and reasoned. My view is that the Supreme Court has review authority that the founders, certainly the framers, never contemplated. Judicial review is not in the Constitution. It's an implied power. It's a necessary power. But when you look at the activist Supreme Courts, the Warren Court in particular, and you look at how the court gets involved in virtually any issue it wants to, that's problematic. Now, you'll notice I talked about the need to amend the Constitution. These are called the Liberty Amendments. And I talk about the Convention of the States under Article 5. Now, I want to read to you something that Joe Biden is about to propose. And by the way, subsequent to my writing Men in Black and the Liberty Amendments, the left has come out with their own version of term limits for Supreme Court justices, which have a completely different purpose. Their goal is to pack the court. To pack the court. You'll notice I have moving terms to set it up and so forth. And this is from the Washington Compost. President Biden is finalizing plans to endorse major changes to the Supreme Court in the coming weeks, including proposals for legislation to establish term limits for the justices, an enforceable ethics code, according to two people briefed on the plan. So this is a leak now, right there. Legislation? These are co-equal branches. Congress doesn't have the power to legislate term limits for the Supreme Court. The justices of the Supreme Court serve on the court for good behavior. It's a lifetime appointment. Just listen to me very carefully, because the others are going to try and catch up, and I need you to be out front on this. What Biden and his people are saying is that they have the power through legislation to change the makeup of the terms, to take it from good behavior, which is a lifetime appointment as long as it's good behavior, to term limits. You'll notice my book's called The Liberty Amendments, the amendments to the Constitution. They have no intention of seeking amendments to the Constitution. Moreover, you'll also notice I insisted when I wrote my amendment that the state legislatures have a role, 3/5 of the state legislatures, not the governments of the state, not the governors, not the judges, the legislature, have the power to override a Supreme Court decision. So the entire body politic can be involved. Some people have said elect the justices. That's crazy. You have unalienable rights. People don't get to elect somebody who will seize your unalienable rights. But that's for another day. Here's my point. He's also weighing whether to call for a constitutional amendment to eliminate broad immunity for presidents and other constitutional office holders. What Joe Biden is proposing is the destruction of separation of powers. These are not reforms. These are not improvements. He wants to use the power of Congress, which doesn't have the power, to change the terms of Supreme Court justices. If Congress has the power to do such things, then the Supreme Court will forever be intimidated and threatened and subjected to legislation of all kinds. They want to impose enforceable ethics codes on the Supreme Court. Can the Supreme Court impose ethic codes on Joe Biden? No. Congress doesn't have the power to impose ethics codes on the Supreme Court. Again, the obliteration of separation of powers, which is the key part of our Constitution. The key part. To eliminate broad immunity. He wants legislation to be able to overrule a Supreme Court decision. You'll notice in my proposal of years ago, I said it would take 3/4 of both houses of Congress to overrule a majority decision, not to make a majority decision, not to impose a decision, not to replace a decision in lieu of the Supreme Court, to overrule it. But it would take a 3/4 majority. That's a super majority that can rarely be accomplished. So my point is that you really need support from the body politic. That's not what Biden's doing. Listen to this sentence. President Biden is finalizing plans to endorse major changes to the Supreme Court in the coming weeks. President Biden doesn't have the power to make major changes of an institution. Of the Supreme Court, Article 3, it is a separate branch. It goes back to Aristotle. It goes back to Locke. It goes back to Montesquieu. It goes to our founding and our constitutional convention. A president doesn't have the power to do this. A Congress doesn't have the power to do this. Just read what the men who created this government said. They say they want to cut through the 2024 election noise, get the campaign moment newsletter, He's also weighing whether to call for a constitutional amendment to eliminate broad immunity for presidents and other constitutional office holders. The announcement will mark a major shift for Biden, a former chair of the Senate Judiciary Committee, who's long resisted calls to reform the high court. Look how the Washington Post talks. That Biden wants to reform the court. No, Biden wants to destroy the independence of the court and create a Marxist Islamist Democrat Party Politburo. But look how their media speak. Look how their media write. He's long resisted calls to reform the high court. Potential changes come in response to growing decisions by the new court majority that have changed legal precedent on issues including abortion and federal regulatory powers. There, they just gave it up. Ends justify the means. We must destroy the court to get the results that we want. It's not good enough that 50 states get to decide about abortion. It's not good enough that there's a massive federal bureaucracy issuing laws, undermining representative government, obviously, but he opposes the idea of judicial review. Biden previewed the shift in a Zoom call Saturday with Congressional Progressive Caucus. The Congressional Progressive Caucus is with the Marxists and the Islamists. Biden's private remarks about his high court plans came more than 2 weeks after his wobbly, confused performance at the June 27 debate. 4 days after the debate, the Supreme Court ruled Trump was immune from prosecution for official acts during his first term in office. By the way, the Supreme Court was stating existing tradition and interpretation. It didn't create anything new. Nothing. Didn't expand anything. Nothing. Less than an hour later, Biden called Lawrence Tribe. Lawrence Tribe is this feeble, former Harvard Law School professor who's told Biden that he can bypass the 14th Amendment when it comes to raising the debt ceiling and basically seize Congress's power of the purse. He's told the Democrats, the media, and probably Biden that, yes, you can use the 14th Amendment, Section 4, to deny Trump ballot positions. This is the guy. And now this. And now this. The next week, Biden called Tribe again. And the two discussed a Guardian opinion piece he wrote, endorsing reforms to the Supreme Court. Among the other options, they discussed term limits, an enforceable ethics code, and the constitutional amendment to address presidential immunity. Tribe confirmed he spoke with Biden, but declined to comment about their discussion. I wonder if Tribe, and I'm not saying he is, I wonder if he's breaking federal law. It's one thing to be friendly, give a little advice now and then, but if he gives regular advice to Biden on matters of policy, he's effectively a government employee of sorts. During the 2020 presidential race, Biden rebuffed calls from liberals who advocated expanding the court and so forth. Since he was elected, the court has veered sharply to the right. This is the Washington Post, urging the destruction of our country. Overturning Roe v. Wade. Ended affirmative action in college admissions. Ended affirmative action in college admissions. Listen to this. Harvard and a school in North Carolina imposed racist quotas against Asian American students. And that somehow is to be supported. The court ended it. That's to be supported. Weakening federal agencies' power by overturning a 40-year decision striking down Biden's student loan forgiveness program. All they're doing is listing all the things Biden has wanted to do that are unconstitutional. Student loan forgiveness, only Congress can do that. Biden did it. The Dobbs decision took us back to pre-Roe, which is every state can decide. We've had more abortions now since Dobbs than before, unfortunately. Student loan forgiveness, only Congress can determine forgiveness, not a president with the wagging of his crooked finger. Each of us is equal before the law. No one is above the law, not even the President of the United States, Biden said at a White House address. 8 Democratic senators have co-sponsored a bill that would establish 18-year terms for Supreme Court justices, with a new justice appointed every 2 years. The 9 most recently appointed justices would sit for appellate jurisdiction cases, while others would be able to hear original jurisdiction cases and so forth. So now they're actually going to micromanage the mechanics of the Supreme Court. Now let me ask you something. You have a party that's filled with Marxists and Islamists who hate the Constitution, who believe the nation's founding was illegitimate, and they are now going to completely rejigger the United States Supreme Court, just like they want to change the voting rules to ensure the Democrats can never lose, just like the border's wide open in violation of federal immigration laws so they can change the nature of the population in the country and increase their congressional districts. This is a party that is burning down the country. This is a massive assault on separation of powers. There are ways to bring reforms through the constitutional process. This has no intention of reforming anything. This is a massive power grab. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
You've heard me say for a long time that cell phone service with Pure Talk can be about half the cost of Verizon, AT&T, or T-Mobile. You hear just $20 a month for unlimited talk, text, plenty of data, and you might be thinking, well, what's the catch? There's no way Pure Talk can offer a cell phone service that cheap. I say, just ask the thousands and thousands of my other listeners who've already switched. They're loving that they're on America's most dependable 5G network. They love Pure Talk's U.S. customer service and their selection of premium phones. So don't wait any longer. It's time to start supporting companies that share our values, like creating American jobs and supporting our veterans. It's time to switch your cell phone service to Pure Talk. Plus, with no contract and 30-day money-back guarantee, you have nothing to lose. Go to puretalk.com/Levin, puretalk.com/Levin, and you'll save 50% off your first month. Again, that's puretalk.com/Levin to start saving now on your cell phone plan. All right. Somebody wrote me a very interesting thing. I'm responding. Okay. We're going to spend a lot of time on this Democrat Party attacking our institutions. Joe Biden is a nasty, pathological, vile person. He has spent half a century trying to destroy things and destroy people unless you support him and his agenda. He's destroyed the border. He's destroying the currency. He's destroying our military. He's destroyed our justice system. And now he wants to destroy the United States Supreme Court. I'll be right back. You've heard me say for a long time that cell phone service with Pure Talk can be about half the cost of Verizon, AT&T, or T-Mobile. You hear just $20 a month for unlimited talk, text, plenty of data, and you might be thinking, well, what's the catch? There's no way Pure Talk can offer a cell phone service that cheap. I say, just ask the thousands and thousands of my other listeners who've already switched. They're loving that they're on America's most dependable 5G network. They love Pure Talk's U.S. customer service and their selection of premium phones. So don't wait any longer. It's time to start supporting companies that share our values, like creating American jobs and supporting our veterans. It's time to switch your cell phone service to Pure Talk. Plus, with no contract and 30-day money-back guarantee, you have nothing to lose. Go to puretalk.com/Levin, puretalk.com/Levin, and you'll save 50% off your first month. Again, that's puretalk.com/Levin to start saving now on your cell phone plan.
Blasting conservative fire. The Mark Levin Show. Call in now at 877-381-3811.
Well, it seems like the Get Rid of Joe effort is heating up a little bit, and Joe has a plan. And as always, Joe's plans are autocratic. They're iron-fisted. Talks about democracy while he's destroying it. from Axios, which is really an outlet for the hard left in the Democrat Party, Alex Thompson, the Democrat National Committee. Ready for this? Listen to this. Remember how he changed the primary system for himself? The Democrat National Committee is quietly steaming ahead with plans to technically nominate Biden weeks before the party's convention next month, Axios has learned. He wants to be nominated virtually well before their convention in 5 weeks, so they can't pick somebody else. Have you ever heard of something like this? Is this not fascistic? Yeah, it is. It's the latest effort by Biden's team to stamp out the Democratic rebellion that's been pushing for the president to step aside since his bad performance in the June 27 debate. Once Biden receives votes from a majority of the nearly 4,000 delegates, it will become exceedingly difficult to remove him from atop the Democrat presidential ticket. The Democrat Party's current plan is to train state party chairs next week on how to conduct the electronic voting in a secure way. This is so disgusting. The window of voting is likely to open on July 29 and conclude August 5, according to people familiar with the matter. If the working plan for a virtual roll call holds, Biden just has to outlast his party's critics for about 2 more weeks. 2 more weeks. 2 more weeks. For the 81-year-old Biden, time finally may be on his side. What they're saying is we look forward to nominating Joe Biden through a virtual roll call. Why? And celebrating with fanfare together in Chicago weeks later in August alongside the 99% of delegates, this is their propaganda, who are supporting the Biden-Harris ticket. Jamie Harrison, the chairman of the fascistic DNC, is trying to jam them by moving up the voting deadline. Amazing, isn't it? Behind the scenes, people at the Biden campaign and DNC are working to put in the fix, said Jennifer Laszlo, a Biden delegate from Maryland, wrote to her fellow state delegates last week. Put simply, they're trying to shut down the process early. We can't allow it, she wrote. I'm asking you to ask the DNC to stop pushing for an early vote. There's an information vacuum. An information vacuum, said Chris Dempsey, a longtime Democratic activist in Massachusetts, who's working to inform delegates of their role at the convention. The delegates we talked to have heard very little from the state parties at the DNC. They're secretly doing this. Somebody leaked it out. They're trying to get the chairman of their parties. It's like the Communist Party. They're trying to get the chairman of the state parties to quickly institute this. And in 2 weeks, Biden is nominated by virtual votes. Got it? The DNC stated reason for front-running the nomination, Ohio's January 7 deadline for ballot access, is no longer relevant because Ohio changed its law. So what happened is, without getting into all the details, the DNC had set this up to try and get around Ohio's law for just Ohio because Ohio had a deadline of August 7th for ballot access. Biden didn't have ballot access because they didn't get enough signatures or whatever the problem was. So in steps the rhino governor of Ohio and says, nah, this is ridiculous. They passed the law, so this is no longer relevant. Ohio is not an issue anymore. But the DNC never let go of the process. And now they're trying to institute it in every state. I'm telling you how corrupt this old bastard is. He wants to destroy the Supreme Court. He's literally destroying the Democrat Party nominating process. He doesn't care what he takes down. I should say Joe Biden doesn't care. Democratic officials who've been briefed on the planning, this election comes down to nothing less than saving our democracy from a man who has said he wants to be a dictator. Oh, really? Okay. Meanwhile, Joe Biden is a dictator. I'm the nominee of this party because 14 million Democrats like you voted for me in the primaries, he said Friday in Detroit. Okay, we'll stand at the convention and see what happens. Representative Lloyd Doggett, Democrat of Austin, Texas, who was the first member of Congress to call for Biden to step aside, told Axios in a statement, those so eager to overly protect President Biden, nor his own words, inviting anyone questioning his nomination to do so at the convention. Some Biden advisors think Biden can run out the clock on the uprising within the party as long as he survives just a few more days. Just have to survive a few more days, then we'll destroy the nominating process. We'll ram it down. We'll jam it down. ABC. Former DNC chairs push back on calls to delay party's virtual Biden nomination. A new letter calling on the Democrat National Committee to delay a virtual roll call on President Joe Biden's nomination. Folks, which could take place this Sunday, is circulating among Democrats on Capitol Hill. At the same time, 3 former chairs of the DNC were sending a separate letter to committee members calling on the party to approve the virtual roll call that aims to formally nominate Biden ahead of the party's convention. The DNC has indicated that the virtual roll call has long been part of their plans. They're liars. This is all they can do. It wasn't. It was to deal with Ohio. They don't have to deal with Ohio anymore. They're liars. Jamie Harrison is a liar. The draft letter among House members, first circulated by Democratic Representative Jared Huffman of California and obtained by ABC News, argues that holding the vote this early will be stifling debate and prematurely shutting down any possible change in the Democratic ticket. Hey, genius, that's their point. The letter says holding an early virtual roll call is a terrible idea that could deeply undermine the morale and unity of the Democrats at the worst possible time. Folks, I just want to make it in plain English and clear as possible. Joe Biden is a dictator. He can talk about what Trump has said. Joe Biden is conducting himself as an actual dictator. He changed the lineup of states for the primary. He is changing the nomination process by not even exploiting what was happening in Ohio, by perversely changing it and applying it to every state. He's demanding that the party chairman, the big regulars, do as he's demanding. The border's wide open so the Democrats can count illegal aliens as persons for the purpose of increasing their congressional representation. He opposes voter ID. The Democrats oppose, and Biden said he would veto a bill that requires that only citizens vote. You see what I'm talking about? He's screwing his own party. He doesn't care. He's screwing his own party. And many of the delegates don't even know what the hell's going on yet. And by the time they figure it out, it'll be Sunday and it'll be over. Former chairs Donna Brazile, Howard Dean, and Terry McAuliffe, there's 3 reprobates, the 3 stooges of politics, said, we believe that a virtual process before the in-person convention begins is necessary to ensure that the Democrat nominees for president and vice president appear on the ballot in every state. This is a lie. They're going to appear on the ballot in every state. Some members of the Democrat National Committee also opposed the plan. DNC member Jamie Sesler of North Dakota has openly criticized the virtual roll call. We even have new phrases for this tyranny. Virtual roll call. Running in a post on Twitter on Tuesday, the DNC should not be doing this, regardless of one's view of President Biden. As an elected member of the DNC, I will not be supporting this. I encourage the Rules Committee to keep the nomination and roll call at the convention. Kind of reminds me of that big Communist Party meeting that Chairman Xi had. Remember that? He has the former president removed, and he's appointing people. He's appointing people who are only loyal to him. This is Biden. This is Biden. Sesler told ABC News in a phone interview that he's worried. Any virtual process makes the DNC appear that they're silencing any dissent. There could be appear. That's the whole damn purpose. And so it is. RFK didn't have Secret Service protection because Biden at the time didn't want him to have it. They pushed him out of the Democrat Party. They moved New Hampshire out as the first state, put in South Carolina because they knew that's a Biden big-time state. They covered up his dementia with the help of the media, of course. The media were happy with all this, perfectly fine, till the debate when they saw, well, he might lose. Now party regulars, perhaps some delegates, want to do something about it, and Biden is saying, oh, no, you don't. Oh, no, you don't. We're going to do this virtually, so you don't even get a say. It'll be all over by the time we meet in Chicago. I'm going to have a coronation. That's all. A coronation. If you're a Democrat, you should be really pissed off. But you won't be. You won't be. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
You've heard me say for a long time that cell phone service with Pure Talk can be about half the cost of Verizon, AT&T, or T-Mobile. You hear just $20 a month for unlimited talk, text, plenty of data, and you might be thinking, well, what's the catch? There's no way Pure Talk can offer a cell phone service that cheap. I say, just ask the thousands and thousands of my other listeners who've already switched. They're loving that they're on America's most dependable 5G network. They love Pure Talk's U.S. customer service and their selection of premium phones. So don't wait any longer. It's time to start supporting companies that share our values, like creating American jobs and supporting our veterans. It's time to switch your cell phone service to Pure Talk. Plus, with no contract and 30-day money-back guarantee, you have nothing to lose. Go to puretalk.com/Levin, puretalk.com/Levin, and you'll save 50% off your first month. Again, that's puretalk.com/Levin to start saving now on your cell phone plan. In the course of 2 hours, you've learned more about what the hell's going on in this, as have I. And you'll learn anywhere else. What Biden's trying to do to retain power. It's funny, he talks about Trump. Trump never wants to, he wouldn't give up power. Of course, Trump did, but look who doesn't want to give up power. What a sleazeball. Wants to destroy the Supreme Court. Not even through an amendment process. Thinks they have the statutory power to change the Constitution. Because he checked with Lawrence Tribe, who is a discredited reprobate. Well, the FBI is now investigating the attempted assassination of former President Trump. The Secret Service is facing heightened security, writes Fox. Heightened scrutiny, I should say. In the wake of the assassination attempt against the former president, in which the shooter was allowed to bring a rifle onto a nearby roof in broad daylight. I mean, that sums it up. The FBI is investigating the shooting as well as the home of Thomas Matthew Crooks. Corey Kempertor, never forget him, who was fatally shot. Fatally shot. 57-year-old David Dutch, 74-year-old James Kopenhaver were both shot and are now in stable condition. Pleased to report up from critical condition. I'll be right back.
He's here. He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Hello, America. Mark Levin here. Our number, 877-381-3811, 877-381-3811. You know, America, people who actually write their own books, well, it's a lot of work. And so when they asked to come on the program, and I agree that they should come on the program, I'm very reluctant to move them or cancel them for most reasons. And I've never spoken to Kathie Lee Gifford in my life, like most of you. But she's written a very intriguing book, and she will be on in 15 or 20 minutes, and I'm glad she will be, and we're going to stick to it. Even though we've been doing a lot and having a lot to say, things do go on. want to read something to you. Anti-Semites and anti-Israel activists were angered, writes the Jerusalem Post, that former President and Republican Party presidential candidate Donald Trump's pick for vice president, claiming on social media that J.D. Vance is controlled by Israel or the Jews. The conspiracy theories about Vance's allegiance to Israel or Jews was based on his staunch pro-Israel positions and good relationship with the American Jewish community, which is true. Many anti-Israel influencers, like American communist commentator Jackson Hinkle, shared photographs of Trump and Vance visiting the Western Wall while wearing a kippah to indicate Israeli or Jewish control. The X-account Megatron claimed that such a picture showed Vance pledging allegiance to Israel, which of course he wasn't. Others, like conspiracy theorist David Ickel, shared a video of religious Jews singing and Vance speaking at a February Tzaddik Association appreciation event in New York. Guess who will run the White House under Trump and Vance? Asked Ickel. The same people who run it under Biden. Anti-Semitic influencer Dr. Anastasia Marialupis also shared a leading question about who will be running the White House again, alongside a series of photographs of U.S. presidents being visited by Orthodox Jews in the Oval Office. Large and small social media accounts asserted that Vance was an Israel first rather than American first. Jake Shields, former MMA fighter, questioned if it was possibly both America first and support Israel. That'd be Jake Shields. Shields also pointed to conservative pundit Ben Shapiro supported Trump's choice and running mate to show that it was bad for his movement, describing Shapiro as a Mossad agent. Pro-Assad Australian commentator Miriam Susli called for Vance to register as a foreign agent because the American-Israeli Public Affairs Committee donated to his campaign. You know, my son texted me early in the program with a bunch of neo-Nazis carrying flags in Tennessee. And he said, Dad, there's a lot of this going on here. A lot of this going on here. Unfortunately, it's a lot of this going on everywhere. Ivy League colleges and universities, in our streets, attacks on synagogues, everywhere. And internationally. What's the President of the United States doing about this? Literally nothing. We set up a program. I'm not interested in you setting up a program. A number of Jewish students are using an executive order signed by Donald Trump to bring lawsuits against these universities. But you never hear Joe Biden speak out against this. As a matter of fact, when he gave that pathetic speech about uniting and against violence, when he's a disuniter, and he says the most violent rhetorical things you can imagine, certainly for a president, he didn't bring up as an example what was happening to Jews on the college campuses. Why is that? He didn't bring it up during the State of the Union address. Why is that? Iran has an assassination hit out on Donald Trump. Why doesn't he cut off their oil with sanctions like Trump did? It's really stunning, isn't it? Stunning how this takes place. This is from the Columbus Dispatch. A Columbus police officer is believed to have shot and killed a homeless man while working in Milwaukee as part of the security efforts surrounding the Republican National Committee. Brian Steele, president of the Fraternal Order of Police, Capital City Lodge number 9, said details are limited. Multiple witnesses told the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel that the man who died at the scene was well-known, lived in a tent encampment, and was known by his nickname Jehovah. Several dozen Columbus officers, including the Division of Police's dialogue team, are in Milwaukee, as are officers from other cities around the country to assist with security. The shooting happened near wherever. Multiple sources told the dispatch the dialogue officers were not involved in the shooting. The Milwaukee County Medical Examiner's Office said an adult male died in the shooting. The guy had a knife. He had a knife. And he was threatening people. I believe that's why he was shot. So there's that too. There's that was taking place. Let's see here. Joe Biden's wondering, why doesn't the press ever talk about Trump's lies? This guy is demented in so many ways. He says to Lester Holt, I mean, he was kind of attacking Lester Holt. But before we go to our author and take a break here, I want to go to Joy Reid on MSNBC yesterday. Now, let me say this. The Scarboroughs are very upset about what was done to them because they were humiliated. And because it demonstrates that management doesn't trust them when it comes to what they were going to say or what their guests were going to say or what was going to come out of that program after the assassination attempt on Donald Trump, given their true hatred for him. But I have to say, how do you suspend those two for a day without suspending Joy Reid, period? Joy Reid should be fired. I've said she should be fired. Nobody uses the word Hitler more than she does against Trump. And here she was yesterday. Hat tip, BizPack review. Talking about Trump. Cut 8, go.
That the greatest purveyor and promoter of political violence, really, since anyone can remember, since George Wallace, I think, that we just haven't experienced that kind of open, sort of citing or sort of incitement of violence or sort of luxuriating in the idea of violence. It's just not something we're used to anymore in American politics. And
you're such a liar. You're such a... Oh, I see BLM, Antifa. Malcolm X, the Black Panthers, the neo-Nazis, the Klan. No, it's Trump. Trump's like George Wallace. This is a sick, vile individual. I'm just saying, you're going to yank Joe and Mika, and you're going to leave this reprobate on the air? Go ahead.
And people are concerned and expressing concern that we won't be the guardians of memory. And that we...
All right, I've had enough of this stupidity. I'm the guardian of memory. Remember Joy? Remember all that filth you put on your blog site before you were on a media broadcast platform? Remember all that? Remember you were attacking gay people? Don't you remember that, Joy? You remember attacking Jews? Don't you remember that, Joy? Remember attacking fellow black people, calling them all kinds of names because they didn't agree with you? Remember all that, Joy? I remember all that. In fact, I can pull it all up if you like. I can do a whole show on it if you like. Memory. Yes, I have a memory. How the hell did you get a primetime spot on MSNBC that's owned by Comcast when you're the biggest purveyor of hate of anybody in the media? You're the worst of the worst. With the word Hitler, the name just glides off your tongue and past your lips as you use it against Trump. And as an American and as a Jew, I have nothing but contempt for you in the way you use that. Nothing. Until Comcast gives her the broom, kicks her out, however you want to put it, there can never be unity. Because she lives off of this. She's built a cult around this. So if I'm Joe or Mika, I'm pretty damn angry too. How the hell do you yank our ticket on Monday and you leave this woman on the air to spew her contemptible hate? I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Welcome back, America. Kathie Lee Gifford I have watched you my whole life. I've never met you. I've never spoken to you. How are you?
Well, you've made my life just now, but I mean, how old do you think I
am? Well, look, I'm not exactly a spring chicken, you know.
I'm not a turkey leg. I'm like a ham hock these days. I'm a huge fan of yours, honestly. I learned so much, and I respect so much the way you treat your guests. You're so well informed. I've been promoting this new book of mine, and you know, you can tell the real pros instantly, the ones that have actually done their homework, you know. Right. And I just always say, that guy, how does he read so many books?
That's all I do. I'm boring. But anyway,
well,
I want to thank you. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I missed my high school graduation because I was at the first Jerusalem Conference on Biblical Prophecy when I was 17.
That's fantastic.
I'm the nerd. Okay.
Well, Kathie Lee Gifford, you're a very faithful person. You've turned to faith. You don't hide it. That's a good thing. You've written a fantastic book, Herod and Mary, the true story of the Tyrant King and the mother of the risen Savior. Tell us, what drove you to write this particular book?
Yeah, I've lost track of how many I've written. I know you have as well. But I've never written a thriller. And I came back from a rabbinical trip to the Holy Land back in 2012, and I was dumbfounded by what I learned about Herod. We know so little of him from the scriptures, just a few mentions. But in reality, what he was responsible for in terms of building infrastructure and everything in Israel. But I had no idea of the geopolitical and cultural implications of his life, especially like with Julius Caesar and Mark Antony and Cleopatra. And I'm a history buff, but I hate it when I have never been told something. You know, I want to learn. And so I came home and got 5 more books about Herod, and then hoped to make a movie about him, because I really believe if Jesus is the greatest story ever told, then Herod is the greatest story that no one's ever told me. I mean, he murdered almost everybody in his path, including his children, his wife, the only woman he ever loved. Our book opens with his genitals, forgive me, but basically charcoal and hanging off of his body because of the debauchery in his life. He's in his palace in Jericho, but he's walking around in a demented estate going, Miriam. I mean, he did. It's just fascinating. It never ends. And then you juxtapose that with the purity of a young teenage girl from Nazareth who says yes to God's plan for her life at great personal risk for her own health. Like, she could have been stoned for being a pregnant young woman out of wedlock. And she said, let it be unto me as you have said. And so she's just an incredible example of a faith-filled person, and that basically what Jesus said in the Garden of Gethsemane the night he was betrayed. He's not your will, Lord, not my will, Lord, but yours be done. I mean, that's faith in its greatest, sweetest, and most difficult essence. You know, to trust. I think, you know, so many people have been asking me, Mark, Kathie, do you think there's more evil in the world today than there used to be? And I said, no, we just have more cable news networks. Yeah. We have more people with cell phones. But the truth was, evil has always been a part of the world we live in. Back in Genesis, in the Garden of Eden, the serpent was there. Yes, God was walking with Adam and Eve and communing with them in the cool of the evening, but the serpent was there all along as well, just waiting to do his damage. And so I just try to show people by what I do and what I write is that there is still hope in the world, in the gathering storms and the darkening clouds, and the fierceness and the viciousness of everything happening around us. God is unchangeable. He is unchangeable. And we have to cling to that, or we're all going to lose our minds. I discovered, Mark, on one of my trips, that I studied Leviticus, you know, the Hebrew in the Old Testament, and then the Greek in the New, because that's the only kind of scripture you can actually trust. And I learned that the Hebrew language has no word for coincidence, because the Jews believe that it doesn't exist. So when somebody says good luck, it's a waste of time. There's no such thing as luck. There's no such thing as randomness. God is either sovereign God in all things, or he's not God at all.
Have you ever thought about being a preacher, or is this your way of preaching? Seriously.
I am not a preacher, and I'm not even I guess I'm a teacher, but it's only because I've been taught by the best. Mm-hmm. I have studied in the Holy Land with the world's finest biblical scholars. So people say to me, "Gosh, Kathie, you're a biblical scholar yourself." And I go, "No. I just learned from the best." And so this book is a change. My son talked me into doing this, and it's the first of a series, we hope, because ancient evil is fascinating, but so is modern evil. We see it everywhere we look these days, too. And we want to understand why and what propelled people. So the personal story of Herod is such a thriller, you can't put it down. And there's been much written about him because of Josephus, especially the great Jewish historian. So, but we wrote it in a thriller way, interspersing what was happening in Mary's life at the end of Herod's. That's when Mary was with child, and the difference between this evil man who murdered everything beautiful in his life, built beautiful palaces. 10 of them at least, and they're all one day's journey from the others, from the north all the way down to the Masada. And you know what that was, Mark? That was his escape route when the Romans were going to come after him or the Jews were going to turn on him. He was a very, very paranoid man, and as a result, paranoia makes people crazy if they're not already, and it makes you do things that you would never do if you were thinking properly or had any kind of conscience. And
let me hold you, if I might, over the break, and I want you to tell us if you think, and you do, I know, but anyway, try and relate aspects of this story that you write back to what's going on today. The book is Herod and Mary, the true story of the Tyrant King and the mother of the risen Savior, Kathie Lee Gifford. You can go to Amazon.com. We're going to link to it on all my social sites. Grab your copy. We'll be right back.
The new American Revolution starts here. The Mark Levin Show. Call in at 877-381-3811.
Welcome back, America. We're with Kathie Lee Gifford. Fantastic book, Herod and Mary, the true story, the Tyrant King and the mother of the risen Savior. You can get it at Amazon.com. It's on all our social sites, our platforms right now. Kathie Lee Gifford, faith, family, freedom. Faith, family, freedom. Is the country pulling away from that? And how would you apply, Herod, to what's going on in our country today?
Right. In our book, we have codas at the back of each chapter where my co-author and I, Dr. Brian Lipton, talk about how does this relate to our world today? Mm-hmm. And why is it important that we don't let these ancient stories die? Because they're really ripped from the headlines. They're very timely. And so we talk about that at length, and we don't have enough time for you and I to discuss it further. But I don't think any of the things that you just mentioned are dying at all. I think it seems that way quite often because that's whatever we put. If we eat junk food all day long, our body's going to become junk food, right? And if we have a steady diet of the garbage that's out there, then your mind's going to become garbage, and your soul will literally rot. We are what we eat. And if it's true about a banana or an avocado, it's true about what we put in our brains and what we allow our souls to entangle in. And as a result, there's so many people walking around in such darkness because they looked in all the wrong places for truth. And I'm not trying to tell other people what their truth should be. It's such an individual journey for somebody. And I never preach at people. I truly don't. I don't like to be preached myself. I'm not a big church goer. I love to. That I study with. I know.
No. I thought we lost you there for a minute.
No. It's just I'm right here. I'm just saying. I want to know. Take this for example. All my life, everybody's told me that Jesus was a carpenter. Well, he was not a carpenter. He was a tekton, which in the Greek means architect/builder. He was a stone. Why
are we coming in and out with Kathie Lee here? I think we lost her. Let's get her back. I want her to be able to express her view fully. So the book is really, she delves into the complex history of Herod the Great, his rise of power, ultimate fall and pursuit of being the king of the Jews. And of course, it's written, she's a very biblical person of deep faith. You know, it's funny, she said she doesn't go to church that much. Thing is, I told my Chabad rabbi, I'm not into the bureaucracy, the buildings and this, that, and the other. And he laughs when I say that. But I am into the faith and learning about it. And I get the sense that's the same with Kathie Lee Gifford as a Christian. She talks about the Ancient Evil Living Hope series. Herod Mary begins with the tragic life of King Herod, Christianity's first true persecutor. And as an impressionable boy, he is forever marked by the raw power of Rome, and throughout the course of his career, he gains power, fame, riches beyond belief, yet murderous intrigues stalk this man and infect his own dark soul. Is Kathie Lee there?
Hi, Mark Levin.
I'm sorry. You're back.
Fine.
You're back. So what were you...
I've been hung up on by a lot of people.
No, we didn't hang up. You know, it's probably the Russians or somebody. But anyway...
it's collusion.
Yes, I'm just kidding. But you were making the point, basically, a point actually that I've kind of made myself, that is, I don't go to temple that much and so forth, the bureaucracy, but I want to learn everything I can about the history of my faith and so forth. And that sounds like that's pretty much the way you approach it, or am I wrong? You know, we're going to have to bring Kathie Lee back. I don't know if it's our connection or hers, Mr. Producer, but let's bring her back because we lost you. And I apologize. But, folks, the book is a fascinating book. Herod and Mary, the true story of the Tyrant King and the mother of the risen Savior. Obviously, you can get it at Amazon.com on our platforms as well. I want to thank her, but we will have her back because that's not fair. I don't think we've done anything. It might be her phone. I don't know, but we will bring her back. Here's the thing, folks. Some of you might say, Mark, you're Jewish, so why do you have somebody on who talks about a book from a Christian perspective? Why wouldn't I? Why wouldn't I? Why do Christian hosts have me on when I talk about what I talk about? I want people to be exposed to everything. All of it. And I've said many times in the United States of America, we're based on the Judeo-Christian principles and belief system. And it's no secret that Jews are a tiny fraction of percentage of the world population. And that in the United States of America, which I love with all my heart, the United States of America was founded by Christians. Vast majority were Christians. They created a society, you folks, you created a society, you created a government that respects individuality, the free exercise of religion, free speech. There's not another country on the face of the earth like it. So why wouldn't I? And of course the answer is I will, and I always will. I'm disappointed that we lost Kathie Lee Gifford, but it wasn't us. I'm sure it wasn't her, it just is. Oh, all right. She has a bad storm. Okay, that's what's not. But do reassure her, Rich, that she will be back, okay? Now, there's a couple other things going on. President Trump, I want you to think about this. This man was almost assassinated, and he posts on Truth Social, and he posts his own stuff. I've seen him do it. Condemning Biden and the Democrats and the radicals for what they're trying to do to the Supreme Court. He's on top of it. There he is in the middle of the convention, obviously watching what's taking place. He's on top of it. But there's something else, if I can find it in time, that I want to share with you. Let's see here. Here it is. Just in. Thomas Crooks locked eyes with counter snipers before the Trump rally from inside the secure rally area. According to CNN, Crooks and snipers were looking at each other. Crooks through his rangefinder and the sniper through his scope. Good Lord, what the hell is going on, folks? What the hell went on? Here's President Trump's post on Truth Social. The radical left Democrats are desperately trying to play the ref, quote unquote, by calling for an illegal and unconstitutional attack on our sacred United States Supreme Court. The reason that these communists are so despondent is that their unlawful witch hunts are failing everywhere. The Democrats are attempting to interfere in the presidential election and destroy our justice system by attacking their political opponent, me, and our honorable Supreme Court. We have to fight for our fair and independent courts and protect our country. MAGA 2024, and he's exactly right. It's horrendous what's taking place there. And then there was one other one, Mr. Producer, the Lincoln Project, trying to find that one. Now, the Lincoln Project is filled with reprobates, and I believe they've had one or maybe two pedophiles, have they not, Mr. Producer? How dare they call themselves the Lincoln Project, for crying out loud. But they're really screwballs. And they're saying, in essence, again comparing Trump to Hitler. The folks, these people are not going to relent. They're not going to suddenly say, oh, well, there was an assassination attempt and you can't tie us to this. And obviously we oppose it and we pray for President Trump, but we hate his guts. We want him to destroy him and so forth and so on. You know, I'm thinking something I'm not going to say yet. I'm thinking something I'm not going to say yet. But I know it to be true. I know it to be true. By the way, Christians United for Israel, an organization that I am so thrilled with, as is my family, founded by the great pastor John Hagee and his wonderful family. On June 30th, I will be joining Pastor Hagee on the stage there as we continue to promote Christians United for Israel and Christians and Jews United. It is a fantastic organization. As we get closer, I'll tell you more about it. It's always an honor to be invited. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Joe Biden is destroying our constitutional republic while claiming to defend democracy. His next target is the Supreme Court. He's about to propose legislation, I'm posting this, to change the lifetime appointment of justices, something I'm not necessarily against, and insists it could be done by Congress. Absolutely cannot. He wants to micromanage the internal workings of the court as well. This is yet another thuggish, lawless assault by Biden and his party on separation of powers. They seek nothing short of monopoly power. They use the tactics of the Marxists. That's what they do. They use the Alinsky tactics, the Leninist tactics, meaning what? Target your enemy and character assassinate them. That's what it means. And of course, they'll have the Washington Compost and the New York Slimes right behind them. It's time to reform the court. None of these entities believe in the Constitution. None of them. Joe Biden is destroying the Democrat Party primary process for himself. He's destroyed our border for the Democrats. He has destroyed energy independence for the degrowth, climate change, radical Marxists. Joe Biden is a one-man wrecking ball. He is, as I've said over and over again, an arsonist. That's what he is. Out of one side of his mouth, he says it's time to tamp it down. It's time to unite. Out of the other side of his mouth, the next sentence, he's lighting fires and he's using horrific language. That is the truth. That is the truth. He has gaslit this country. For the Marxists and the Islamists in the streets, in our Ivy League schools, the anti-Semites, we know who they're going to vote for. And the media have joined him. The media have supported him. Till now, when they think he might lose. We'll see what the media do ultimately. They're of two minds right now. They think they've tamped down the worst of the debate. But on the other hand, Joe's a loose cannon, and they don't want to lose this election. The fact is, you should feel good about several things. Number one, you are a righteous people. Number two, you love this country. Number three, you believe in the founding. You believe in the Declaration and the Constitution. Number four, you're not alone. There's tens of millions of us. And number five, I'm not going anywhere, so we should meet here every night. We salute our armed forces, police officers, firefighters, emergency personnel, our truckers. We salute our brothers and sisters in Ukraine and Israel. We have your back even though Biden doesn't. Most of all, you, red-blooded Americans. God bless each and every one of you. Let's do this tomorrow. I'll see you then.